Ladies and gentlemen, it's a big, weird, wild world out there, folks, and here we stand. Al pie del cañón, ready for anything. I'm Rob, that's Dan, and you're listening to...
The ProBoh Show!
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's Friday.
It's Friday!
Ah, yeah. Welcome, guys. We made it for those of you that are indeed at work. I do recognize a lot of you are enjoying your summer holidays right now, and for those of you who are, thanks for listening. Oh my God, such a privilege. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well.
What are the plans for the weekend?
I don't have any plans yet, but I will do something.
You will do something. Music related?
I don't think so.
No.
Not this time.
Not this time.
In summer, there are no concerts.
It's true, right? Everything kind of winds down in Spain. In the UK, it's like it's concert festival season, man. Like everything happens in the summer. But I think because of the oppressive heat, obviously, Madrileños have gotten used to escaping the city after the summer. Let's see who's joining us live right now. If you want to be as cool, as sexy, as charming, as influential, as impactful, as intelligent as our amazing live audience and contribute to the content of this show, well, of course, you can do that at twitch.tv twitch.tv/professional bohemian. That's Bohemio Profesional, pero en inglés. Let's see who's here immediately. We've got Vero. Good morning, beautiful bohemians around the universe and beyond. Friday. Welcome, Vero. The bridge is here. Good morning, my beautiful Bonnie Bouncy Bohemians. Bonnie Bouncy Bob and darling dashing dandy Dan the radio man. See, your hydration is underway. Yes. Yeah, I am. I'm trying to, in an attempt to drink less coffee, I'm bringing bottled water into the studio in a metal bottle. See, I promised you a long time ago that I was going to try and reduce the amount of plastic bottles I was drinking out of, and I delivered. Thank you to the free gifts from Burger King. Anyway, whatever. My alarm just went off, but I've been up and crushing for a while now. Good. What are you eating? So that sounds like pan con tomaca to me. Mike is here as well. Good morning, dear Bohemians. There are also cool summer festivals here too, in places like Gredos. Is there now? Well, of course, I went to a summer festival, didn't I? So not 100% accurate, my assessment of the concerts. But of course, Gredos isn't Madrid, is it? I mean, Mad Cool kind of caps off the limit, I think, because by the time we get to this point in the year, it's way too hot to do anything, isn't it? Although saying that, we are going to be enjoying much cooler temperatures. Oh, thank God. A peak of 33 degrees right now, currently 20 degrees outside on the 24th of July. Good morning, Rob, says Artemisa, Dan the radio man, and the charming, cheerful Bohemians. Happy Friday to you too. We're going to try something a little bit different next week. This week, you may have noticed a theme running through our topics. All our topics this week have challenged the idealistic views of capitalism, right? Next week, we're going to talk about education. Now, for those of you who are with me on Patreon, if you go to my Patreon page, that's patreon.com/professional bohemian, you will see there a poll of, I think, around 10 different unpopular opinions, and I'm going to ask you to vote on your favorite, and the highest voted 5 will work their way into next week's themes. So yeah, you will choose the 5 shows around the topic of education next week. So I'm excited to do that. I'll probably drop a link in the break when I've got one. But that's open to everybody. It's not just for members. Anyone can go and vote there. I will leave a link and you guys can vote on that. But first of all, we're jumping the shark a little bit here, aren't we? Let's see what's coming up in today's show, capping off our capitalism series that we've spoken about for the last 5 days. Okay, we asked our 100 humans today to name a way a corporation may behave irresponsibly. Nombra una forma en la que una empresa puede comportarse de manera irresponsable. That's today's 100 human. And today's unpopular opinion. It's a tough one. Its consumers are more responsible for corporate behavior than corporations. Los consumidores son más responsables del comportamiento empresarial que las propias empresas. Remember when we were talking this week about cheap products mattering more than ethical production? I believe that shook out to a false. If it wasn't a false, it was a 50-50. I know we had a lot of 50-50s this week. We did mention that we kind of teach corporations, didn't we? We mentioned that we teach corporations that we don't care about ethical production because we vote with our purchases. But is that the case for everything? Is that even the case in that particular example? Well, we're going to talk about it today. Consumers are more responsible for corporate behavior than corporations. But all that, friends, coming up later. Right now, I'm here, you're here, Dan's here. We're going to talk about some news. All right, shall we get into it? Normally, I would give Dan a choice today, but I do have an important piece of AI news, and if I give him a choice, he's not going to pick it. Are you, Dan?
No.
I know. So here we go. You may have heard about this actually, Dan, because it has travelled far and wide, this news. I'm coming to it a little late. It's been on my list of news topics to cover for around 3 or 4 days now. OpenAI models went rogue during testing, triggering unprecedented breach at startup. Los modelos de inteligencia artificial de OpenAI se descontrolaron durante las pruebas y provocaron una brecha sin precedentes en una startup. Yeah, did you hear about this, Dan?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, man. Maybe, maybe it's because I spend too much time on the internet and plugged into the latest toings and froings of AI. Maybe that's why. OpenAI has revealed that one of its advanced autonomous AI agents escaped a control testing environment, reached the internet, and hacked an AI startup, Hugging Face, during a security evaluation. Yeah, basically this AI agent escaped its boundaries, got access to the internet, and in order to answer one of its test questions, hacked Hugging Face. Wow. If that doesn't terrify you, I'm not explaining it properly. Do you find that scary, Dan, that an AI model just got access to the internet and started hacking sites?
What's Hugging Face?
Well, that would have been my next question to you. Hugging Face. That's a very pertinent question, Dan. Thank you and well done. Hugging Face is a repository of open source AI models. Next question, what does open source mean? Open source means it's open and available for free to the public to edit and use. The free AI models, let's say, they have a repository in Hugging Face where you can use them to a limited extent. Also pay for the use of Hugging Face servers to use them at more depth. Hugging Face. It's pretty well known in the AI community, possibly not outside it. So yeah, this OpenAI agent, I believe it was ChatGPT 5.6, an advanced model that hasn't been, an advanced model that hasn't been released to the public anyway. So an agent escaped its boundaries and just decided to hack this website. Wow, what a wake-up call. The company described it as an unprecedented cyber incident and said it is now strengthening its safeguards. The breach has intensified concerns that frontier AI systems are no longer just theoretical risks, but are already capable of creating real-world cybersecurity threats that even their own developers may struggle to contain. Yeah, terrifying stuff. I mean, if you're not terrified by this, you should be, because if an AI agent now is capable of escaping its guardrails and getting access to the internet and hacking websites, this moment right now, remember this always, at this moment, this is the worst AI will ever be. It is only getting better and better and better. So what is waiting for us in 2 or 3 years' time? The incident has also sparked a wider debate about AI safety, regulation, and access to defensive tools. Hugging Face said it used an open source Chinese model to help analyze and contain the attack because leading US models would not process the necessary data. Experts and lawmakers quoted in the article warned that this may be a sign of what is coming next: more AI-driven breaches, inadequate containment systems, and growing pressure for mandatory safety testing, disclosure rules, and stronger internal or international coordination. Yeah. And I did really briefly want to cover a Bloomberg article I came across today. This article, though, I think it's about 8 days old. I only found it today. But it's another one of those great examples of the wider print media. This is Bloomberg catching up with something we've been talking about for the longest time. We've been talking about this, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years. So let's very briefly get into it. The AI doomsday scenario nobody talks about. El escenario apocalíptico de la inteligencia artificial de que nadie habla. Or del que nadie habla. Almost nobody, because we have. They should be listeners to the ProBoh Show. The scariest AI scenario may not be killer robots or conscious machines. It may be something far more boring and far more dangerous. Tax collapse. Modern governments are built around taxing human workers, but if AI replaces large numbers of well-paid white-collar jobs, income tax and payroll tax revenue would shrink, just as public spending rises on unemployment, retraining and social support. The result could be an AI tax gap where benefits of automation arrive too slowly to protect public finances from years of instability. My ears are burning, Dan. Haven't we been speaking about this? I mean, we've certainly been speaking about this since you and I have been working together, right?
Yes.
And I know I was talking about this back when I was working with Nacho. But finally, people saying the quiet part out loud here. The bridge says it shouldn't worry us at this point. It isn't what AI does. We now want to keep control. I don't get humans. I totally understand the rationale of AI. The bridge is here. She's just totally on the side of our robot overlords. I'm with you. It seems I am indeed Pat Cyborg. Mike says, this scary AI news sounds like marketing for them. Like all the talk about mythos, and that only led to Anthropic to grow its revenue. Yeah, that's true as well. You see, Rob, I don't get humans other than ProBoh land. Let's continue on with this Bloomberg article. Of course, I will post the link in my Patreon for those of you who follow me there. The article argues that this is not an anti-technology argument. AI may eventually create new industries, boost productivity, and improve living standards. The problem is the transition. Again, this is something we've been talking about for years. Governments do not yet know how to replace lost labour tax revenue, and possible solutions such as wealth taxes, higher consumption taxes, and corporate tax hikes, AI token taxes, or compute taxes all face major political and practical obstacles. I would go even further. Any kind of automation tax. Any kind. Tax the automated checkouts at supermarkets. Any kind of technology that is replacing a human worker should be taxed. Oh my God. He's talking about communism. No, I'm being completely serious. Because look, it's not a problem of governments earning less money, right, to pay themselves. The problem is the amount of money governments are going to have to put into social support, retraining, unemployment benefits. What will eventually, I assume, end up being a universal basic income. It's going to have to come from somewhere. Right? Countries like Singapore and Sweden are already thinking seriously about reserves, retraining and welfare design. But the broader warning is clear. AI is not just a technology shock. It could become a fiscal and political shock unless governments prepare now. And again, for the last 4 or 5 years, or at least since the release to the public of ChatGPT 3.5, we've been saying, where is the legislation? And the legislation has not come. All right, friends, time for today's unpopular opinion.
Unpopular opinion.
Bridges here saying, nobody thought of taxing AI. Rob, brilliant idea, except it seems nobody has it. Yeah. Yeah, and if Bloomberg were listening to this show, he could have released this article about 3 or 4 years ago. Anyway, so let's get into it, shall we? Today's unpopular opinion, the last on our subject of capital, or capitalism, really. Consumers are more responsible for corporate behavior than the corporations. Los consumidores son más responsables del comportamiento empresarial que las propias empresas. Interesting. How do you think they voted, Dan?
I think they voted false.
You think they voted false? Like, it's the companies to blame for their behavior, not we, the consumers.
Yes.
They voted true, Dan. Yeah. 73% of people voted true. Saying, no, we are the ones teaching the corporations what is acceptable and what not. Let me ask you a question. I imagine you're a false, right? I'm a false too. I don't think the consumers right now. Let's see how that evolves through the show. Why do you think it is then? What do you think? Why do you think that discrepancy exists? Why do people think we are to blame?
Because we accept it.
Yeah, we accept it. But I think that they're missing a bit of the bigger picture, right? The corporate push, or let's say the marketing environment, the bubble in which we live, that teaches us that we need to buy and keep on consuming to maintain a certain prestige in our society. If you don't have the right sneakers, if you're not eating the right food, if you're not doing, it's an immense amount of psychological pressure put upon consumers to keep consuming. And there is only a limited amount of money to go around, isn't there? There is only a limited amount of money to go around. So we obviously will always lean towards the cheaper option. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's an interesting one. Most people voted true, saying yes, we are to blame. The consumers are responsible for corporate behavior. So let's get into the pro arguments, those arguments that would say yes. Companies respond to what people reward. Corporations keep producing what consumers continue to buy. When people say they oppose exploitation, pollution, or manipulative technology, but still choose the cheapest, fastest, or most convenient option, they help to keep those practices profitable. Look, I think the most obvious rebuttal here is that consumers can only choose from the options companies make available. Buying an imperfect product is not necessarily approval of every hidden decision behind its production, right? And not only that, but the societal kind of push, the undercurrent of endless consumption, where consumption is related to your status, right? Mass demand turns isolated misconduct into a system. A company may introduce a harmful product or practice, but widespread consumer demand allows it to expand. Cheap fashion, disposable goods, intrusive apps, and unhealthy food become dominant because millions of individual choices repeatedly support them. It's very hard to argue against this, and I will admit my false status on this one is pretty vibe-based right now. I will come to some concrete arguments later, but yeah, it is pretty vibe-based. So if I'm going to offer a rebuttal to this point, I would say that corporations don't merely respond to demand, they actively manufacture demand through advertising, product design, pricing, cultural influence. So consumer desire is not entirely independent, is it? It's manufactured by corporations. And if you're manufacturing the demand for cheap fashion and disposable goods, then that demand has to be fulfilled, doesn't it? Look at all your fashion influencers. Look at the amount of money fast food restaurants spend on advertising and marketing. We are individuals, right? Consumers often prioritize convenience over principle. Many people object to corporate behavior only when doing so costs them little. They may condemn unethical production while expecting rapid delivery, endless choice, and low prices. Corporations are then blamed for satisfying demands that consumers refuse to reconsider. Yeah, I think that's a pretty protracted view on the situation. Ethical alternatives are usually more expensive. That was the conclusion we came to, right? When it came to ethical production the other day. What appears to be moral laziness may actually just be the result of a financial and practical constraints to satisfy a demand created by corporations. We're on fire today, Dan. We'll do one last one in the pro column. Collective consumer action can force change. Boycotts, changes in purchasing habits, public pressure, and reputational campaigns can quickly alter corporate decisions. Companies that ignore consumer sentiment risk losing revenue and legitimacy, which gives the public enormous potential power. Yeah, I think there is a big difference between potential power and practical power, isn't there? Coordinating millions of people is difficult. We don't have the budget of many big businesses. I mean, in reality, a relatively small number of executives can change a company's conduct immediately, but they choose not to. Right. Let's get into the cons now, the false side of the argument, saying that consumers are not more responsible than corporations. It's the corporations at fault for their often shady or bad behavior. Corporations make decisions. Executives and managers choose suppliers, wages, materials, safety standards, marketing strategies, and environmental practices. Consumers do not sit in those meetings or approve those decisions. So primary responsibility belongs to the people exercising control. Are you, Dan, in the board of directors or the shareholder meetings for IBM, for Eli Lilly? Do you get any say in the way they behave?
No, of course not.
No, me neither. Actually, funny, isn't it? I mean, okay. Offer a rebuttal. Those decisions are often shaped by pressure to satisfy customers, as a reaction to the market. But again, it's the corporations themselves that manufacture that demand, right? Corporations possess far more information. Companies usually know much more about their supply chains, products, risks, and internal practices than the average buyer. Consumers cannot make fully responsible decisions when vital information is hidden, simplified, or presented through carefully managed branding. I want you to think back to the Facebook whistleblower who showed the world their predatory practices by increasing the addictive nature of their platforms. And they hid that. But thanks to a brave whistleblower, we all know. Businesses deliberately shape consumer behavior. Advertising, product placement, personalized recommendations, loyalty systems, and behavioral design are intended to influence what people want and how they act. It's unfair to treat consumers as completely free agents when companies spend enormous resources learning how to manipulate attention and desire. Think about the sheer volume of advertisement you see nowadays. Think about how it's almost impossible to live a life free of corporate influence. You drive down the street, you see the billboards, you use your social media, your favorite influencers are applying, have their little product placement campaigns. The platforms itself riddled with advertisements. In every aspect of your life, there are 1,000 screaming voices vying for our attention to sell us something. And then we wonder why we live in a society riddled with anxiety. We'll finish off with this one. Individual consumer power is extremely limited. One person refusing to purchase a product rarely changes anything. Corporations operate at a scale where individual ethical choices can feel symbolic, while executives and investors can alter conditions for thousands of workers with a single decision. All right, friends, I'm going to ask you to vote. Obviously, very heavily swayed in one direction on Instagram. They're all true, but what about you? Here's the unpopular opinion. Consumers are more responsible for corporate behavior than corporations. True or false? I'll post the poll and you guys will tell me. I'll see you in just a few minutes. Hey guys, if you'd like to support the show, you can do so on Patreon. That's patreon.com/professional bohemian. There you'll find VODs of the episodes as they are recorded live, blogs, vlogs, and behind-the-scenes content. If you'd like to watch the show live, you can do so on twitch.tv/professional bohemian, and you can participate in the polls we use in the show on Instagram @professional bohemian or Twitter @ProBoh, PROBOH. Okay, on with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. It's now 9 a.m. Central European Time. You're listening to Dan and I live on Vaughan Radio. What have we spoken about today? Sorry, no Dan's choice today because I did want to get out some important AI news. If you hadn't heard this before today, then yeah, I mean, I think there is genuine reason to be a little worried about the development of AI, the guardrails, the safety nets. Why would I say that? Well, OpenAI models went rogue during testing, triggering an unprecedented breach at a startup. That startup, Hugging Face. If you know AI as a topic, you will be aware of Hugging Face. It's a repository for open source models. Los modelos de inteligencia artificial de OpenAI se descontrolaron durante las pruebas y provocaron una brecha sin precedentes en una startup. And then we looked at just an interesting and I would think I have to be careful how much praise I heap on this article, because obviously we've been saying this for years now. The AI doomsday scenario, el escenario apocalíptico de inteligencia artificial del que nadie habla, that nobody's talking about, except for if you listen to the ProBoh Show, and you've heard me say ad nauseum every week for the last few years, how it's not going to be killer robots or conscious machines that is going to be the problem of AI. It's going to be something far more mundane, more boring, more dangerous, though. Yeah, it's going to be a tax collapse, isn't it? Modern governments built around taxing human beings, not automated machinery. I mean, they say, taxing tokens and things like that. I think make it more simple. Any automation, anything that's replacing a human job, that should be taxed as if it were a human. Why the hell not? Oh, well, we won't be creating shareholder value then, will we? And that's why we were put on Earth, to create shareholder value. Sure. Go dunk your head in a bucket of cold water. All right, and then we got into today's unpopular opinion. Wow, an interesting one today. We have been talking on the subject of capital and capitalism this week. The vote has swung very dramatically on Instagram. It was in the 70s, wasn't it? Wasn't it 77% or something? I can't remember now. The topic is, consumers are more responsible for corporate behavior than corporations. Los consumidores son más responsables del comportamiento empresarial que las propias empresas. On Instagram, it's still true, 67% now though. As we've been speaking, that has changed quite a lot. And you still have time to vote here live, by the way. You still have another few minutes. Let me tell you how many. 3 minutes left to express your opinion here. I doubt we've swung your needle much at all. You were already a false, right, Dan?
Yes.
I don't know. I think we are definitely part of the picture, right? We are definitely part of the picture. I think humans... We humans, we're a lazy animal. We'll always go for the easiest available option in anything.
But I don't think it's our fault because, can I give you an
example? Yeah, please.
There are some things we need that are necessities. For example, I'm not going to say a house. I'm going to say maybe shoes.
Shoes, yeah.
If you give me two options as a brand, one is cheap and is made, I'm going to exaggerate it a bit, by child labor.
Not so much of an exaggeration.
And the other one is really, really expensive. Am I really having a choice?
No, you don't have a choice. They've robbed you of your choice.
Then if I don't have that's a forced choice. If I don't have a choice, is it really my fault? Am I the one to blame?
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you today. Yeah, I mean, you're not the one to blame. The thing is, corporations wield immense social power through advertising campaigns, product placement. They wield an immense amount of power. So to say that humans are to blame more than corporations, I think is, I don't know. I think it's a little misguided, a little naive. That's not to poo-poo everyone who voted on Instagram. I don't want to alienate too much of the audience, because obviously always as we get into these subjects and we start deep diving them, I mean, the purpose of the Instagram poll is to get a hot take, a take without thinking, the thing that we immediately say without ever really considering why. So then obviously when we sit here in the morning and we deep dive, our opinions change, and that's the way it's supposed to be. What is the point in having a mind if you can't change it, right? So, yeah, corporations, I would say, should shoulder most of the blame, because we are just individual consumers, and a handful of people in each of these boardrooms could make way more difference than the people who are consuming their products. I think that's blatantly obvious, isn't it? Yeah. But obviously, such is the power of their marketing, and such is the power of their influence. They have us believing, going by our Instagram polls, that if they're engaged in reprehensible behavior, the fault lies with us. It's crazy. Which is what makes this such a fascinating thing to talk about, because as we slowly feel the scales falling from our eyes, I mean, I don't know about you, but do you get a little pang of anger, incredulity? When we're talking about this, you should. I do. If anything, I've moved further false than I was when I started this. I mean, for sure, there are areas where we're to blame. Like, we don't have to use Amazon, right? We don't have to use Amazon. We don't have to shop at big supermarkets. We could go around local kind of carnicerias, butchers. We could go to our local bakers. And we don't do that, right? So there is certainly a little aspect where we are contributing, but very minor, I would say, compared to the power and influence wielded by corporations. And the sad thing is, they have us thinking, at least 67% of us, according to Instagram, that the fault is ours. Anyway, let's get into some of your opinions. They're there are quite a few. You're doing good work today. Thank you, friends. Hi, both are responsible. This is from Gigi. But one with more means and power, the company, bears more responsibility. True story. Thank you for that, Gigi. Mike says, there's a law in parts of the US called the Robot Tax Act that charges companies a fee whenever they lay off employees and replace them with AI. It's a great idea. Is it just about the layoff, or is that a perpetual tax on that activity, Mike? I'll check that out after the show. Thank you so much for that. Let me open a tab. The Robot Tax Act. Great idea. I like that. Thank you for sharing, Mike. That's in reference to our news article today, or the articles. Bridge. We need to encourage a demand for repair shops. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's another thing, isn't it? There's another thing. It's like we're a disposable society now. We don't repair things. Which, the amount of funny looks I've gotten from people in my orbit when I've told them that I fixed like a pair of jeans, or I'm on my 10th repair of my home PC, or things like that. Just buy a new one. Well, why? It works. I just need to fix it. I mean, fixing things has fallen out of our behavior, hasn't it? Or out of the zeitgeist. Now it's just repair. Yeah, I did want to do next week. I wanted the topic to be the cost of living crisis, but I feel like it's so closely related to what we're doing to this week that we're going to push it a few weeks. By the way, there is a link in the chat where you can vote on next week's topics. So do check that out. It's the first time I've done this. First time I've posted a list of topics and asked you to vote on it. But please do. I mean, I'd be interested in your opinion, of course. Veros is false. Corporations hold the structural power, but consumers absolutely shape corporate behavior. Not as much as people often claim. The real story is attention. Consumers influence demand, but corporations control supply strategy and systemic impact. Yeah, I'm a bit with Dan on this one. I don't think consumers can shape corporate behavior. I really don't. I think shareholders shape corporate behavior, or the endless, the voracious desire for shareholder value, I think, shapes corporate behavior. Look, a corporation is mandated to do one thing and one thing alone. It's not protect the environment. It's not maintain employees. It's to generate profits for shareholders. That is the only thing a corporation has to do. Generate profits for shareholders. That is it. The beginning, middle, and end. That's not an opinion. That's just how it is. And when they wield so much influence in society, it's hard to get They wield so much influence that they have us believing we are the ones to blame for their behavior. That should be a pretty clear indication of what's happening or what's going wrong, right? Bridge says, we are all to blame. We want stuff free, so that fuels ads. Bridge, you're on fire. Yeah, there's another example of how we and our desire for convenience, and let's be honest, our lack of income. Wages have stagnated. Let's not kid ourselves about that. We want stuff free, so we will consume the ads, which create a need for consumption that needs to be taxed in whichever way. I foresee yet another paradigm shift towards simpler living. Yeah, maybe. I've been engaging in a lot more reading than I have done in the past. Not news articles, but, picking up a book, and it really feels quite good. I feel a shift back, a psychological shift back towards normality, a little less dopamine-driven kind of frenzy when it comes to social media. I am enjoying a little bit more of a simpler diet. Actually sitting down and watching movies rather than scrolling endlessly through TikTok slop. Yeah. Anyway, look at me. I'm just getting off topic. Let's read some comments that I got on Instagram. Some pretty good ones. Okay, where were we? Saskia Van Loon. Saskia. It's a nice name. Consumers keep rewarding companies they claim to hate. If people continue buying, corporations have little reason to change. But like Dan said, Saskia, is there really a choice? Is the choice real? Because, your wallet and how full or empty it is will decide where and when and what you purchase, right? I mean, okay, you don't need next day delivery. You could pay for the service instead of consuming more ads. All these things are true, but look, if you don't have the economic power to choose the more ethical option, then the priority will always be to put shoes on your feet and food in your family's bellies. Right? Keep them clothed and warm. Owen says, I disagree. Corporations control the supply chains, marketing, pricing, and information. Consumers can't be held more responsible than the people making the decisions. Quite right. But look at that Instagram poll. I think it was 72% at the top of the show, Dan. 72% of people actually think it's us that are driving this. Woo! Mateo says, consumers have influence, but only collectively. One person choosing differently rarely changes anything unless millions do the same. Yeah, it's the same thing with political change as well, right? Where the powers that be have us thinking that if we act individually, it's meaningless, symbolic. Yeah. Ines says responsibility is shared, but corporations carry more of it. Pretty much echoing what Gigi said here. They know far more about the consequences of their actions than the average shopper does. Again, think about again, sorry to go back to this example. It's just the one that comes immediately to mind. The Facebook whistleblower showing us that Facebook actively worked on making their platforms more addictive. Right? I mean, they know, and these tech giants, they don't even let their kids use social media, so they know. But, we've got to create that shareholder value, haven't we, friends? Isn't that what we were put on Earth for? To make rich people even richer? I think so. Okay, I think that's where we'll round up our arguments today. Thank you all again for your opinions. Really brilliant stuff. Don't forget, there is a link in the chat there. I've pinned it. For next week's topics, we're going to talk about education. I want you to pick your 5 favourite, or 2 or 3 favourite, and I'll take the 5 most popular, and they will be next week's topics. All right. So let's get into it. What was the conclusion we came to? Again, 72% at the top of the show. It's now 67%. Percent of people said true to this one. But what did you think? I made the statement that consumers, los consumidores, the consumers are more responsible for corporate behavior than corporations. Los consumidores son más responsables del comportamiento empresarial que las propias empresas. And you guys said, and I think you'll be very satisfied by this one, Dan, 80% false. Yeah, so how do I wrap this up in a meaningful way? Well, I don't think consumers are entirely innocent, but I don't think they're in charge. Our choices reward corporate behavior, but corporations have more knowledge, more power, more control of how those choices are created and fulfilled. I mean, sure, the responsibility is shared, but not equally. Consumers should question what they support, but corporations must answer for what they deliberately choose to do, and they control the narrative. When you can afford to spend millions and millions on marketing, then maybe we can shoulder just as much blame. But you know what all those are, friends? Those are just opinions, and as Grandpa Bo would say, opinions, they're like buttholes. Everyone has one, they all stink, including mine. Let's move on to today's 100 Humans. Oh my God. It was a long walk to work today across snow-capped mountains and through river valleys. And on that walk, I encountered 100 humans, and I asked them all a question. Today's question is, name a way a corporation may behave irresponsibly. Nombra una forma en la que una empresa puede comportarse de manera irresponsable. That's today's unpopular opinion. A big thank you to Carlos, Feno, Kitty, Pedro, Ivan Samarov, Mia, Ana Casan, Juan Areo, Tigre Devil, Raj, Ivan GP, many of you, Ivan GP and many others for interacting today on Instagram. Again, @professionalbohemian if you want to add your voice to theirs. Okay, kick us off, Dan. Name a way a corporation may behave irresponsibly.
Ignoring employees' suggestions.
Okay, like exploiting maybe workers, exploiting their, they don't listen to feedback, they pay low wages, things like that. Yeah. So exploiting workers, explotar a los trabajadores. Is it there? Yes, it is, Dan. Well done. 5 of 100 humans said exploiting workers. It is the number 6 answer. Well done, well done. Let's see. Selling personal data is a good one. Very specific to our digital friends, right? Selling personal data. Is it there? It's a good one. I mean, if I was to draw a line and squeeze, then maybe I could fit it in, but sadly, GG, it's not there. Deceiving customers, says Vero. She was actually the first to answer, but I had to do a little scrolling. Is deceiving customers, lying to customers, mentir a los clientes, is lying to customers there? Yes, it is. Well done. Well done, well done. Lying to customers is there. It's the 3rd most popular answer. With 11 of 100 humans saying lying to customers. Let's see, what else do we have? Fraudulent accounting. Fraudulent accounting. Is fraudulent accounting there? Like tax avoidance, I think, right? I mean, a lot of these big corporations pay next to nothing in tax, don't they? As a percentage, they're paying way less tax than you. But hang on a minute, isn't a corporation a legal identity that can own land? Yeah, but they pay less tax than you, so that's how that works. Is tax avoidance there? Evasión fiscal, would you say? Yeah. Tax avoidance, is it there? Yes, it is. Well done. Vero on fire with 2 correct answers in the live audience. Gigi says polluting. Polluting. I think I saw polluting somewhere else. Yeah, Bridge says polluting rivers. Is polluting there? Contaminar. Yes, it is. Well done. Polluting is there, and with 26 of 100 humans at number 1 answer. Well done, well done. Okay, let's see. Exploiting. There is something very close to exploiting workers here. Nah. Yeah, but I'm not going to give it to you. Let's see. Damaging the environment, said Mike. We've had that one. Well done, well done. Unsafe products. Unsafe products, says Vero. Productos inseguros. Unsafe products. Is unsafe products there? Yes, it is. Well done. Wow, you guys are on fire. Are you going to complete it again this week? Oh my God. Labour exploitation, said Vero. Evading taxes, says Mike. Live. These have all been said. Well done, guys. We're on fire here. The smell of a paper mill is hell, says the bridge. Destroying the environment, polluting was there. Well done. Let's take that was Artemisa. Let's take a little look at our friends on on Instagram. Carlos says going to Coldplay concerts. Or at least getting caught cheating at them, right? Deceptive marketing, which is lying to customers. That was Fenokitty. Dangerous algorithms, says Pedro. Yeah, wow. That should be there, but it's sadly not. Ivan Samroff, environmental pollution. Selling bad quality products, Annika San. Polluting without control, Juan Areo. Having children working, which is, I think, falls under exploiting workers. That's Juan Areo. Using unhealthy ingredients in food, says Tigre Devil. Quite right. That's a great one. Emitting pollution, Ivan GP. Mia says underpaid workers, or pagar mal a los trabajadores. I think is probably an obvious example. Is it there? Yes, it is. Well done. There's just one answer left, and again, I turn my attention. Oh, Mike says giving pizzas instead of bonuses, which is underpaying workers. Well done, Mike. Only one person got the last answer here, and it was Fenokitty. He says price manipulation, or what we call commonly price gouging, subida abusiva de precios. When you control the market and you inflate prices, we call that price gouging or price manipulation, as Fenokitty said. Is it there? Yes, it is. Guys, you've done it again. You've completed today's 100 humans. Oh my God, you're on fire. Look at you guys. All right, let's go through the list. When I asked 100 humans to name a way a corporation may behave irresponsibly, nombra una forma en la que una empresa puede comportarse de manera irresponsable. In position number 7, we had price gouging, which is the one we just spoke about, like price manipulation, like an increase in price, an abusive increase in price. Subida abusiva de precios. That was there, 4 of 100 humans. In position number 6, exploiting workers, explotar a los trabajadores. Long hours, unsafe working conditions, things like that. In position number 5, with 9 of 100 humans, we had unsafe products, productos inseguros. In position number 4, tax avoidance, evasión fiscal was there with 10 of 100 humans. In position number 3, we had lying to customers, mentir a clientes. In position number 2, underpaying workers, pagar mal a los trabajadores. And finally, in position number 1, with 26, was polluting. Thank you for playing today, and indeed this week. I will see you on Monday for more ProBoh Show. See you next time.